Speed, power, and legendary showdowns. Welcome to the welterweight division. Over the last 50 years, the 147-pound weight class has given boxing some of its biggest stars and most explosive fights. Today, we're counting down the top 10 welterweight boxers since 1975. And spoiler, picking the number one was almost as tough as surviving a prime Thomas Hearns right hand. Let's dive in. Starting at number 10, Donald Lone Star Cobra Curry was a knockout artist who picked up where the greats of the early 80s left off. In 1985, Curry became the undisputed welterweight champion, even earning Fighter of the Year honors while briefly staking a claim as the pound-for-pound best in sport. Known for his venomous hand, speed, and power, he scored memorable knockouts over top contenders like Marlon Starling and Milton McCrory. Curry's prime was short but brilliant, a Texas whirlwind who reminded everyone that the 147-pound division always reloads with a new star. At number 9, Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. Emerging as the modern force of the late 2010s with his relentless pressure and thudding body shots, he captured the IBF title by knocking out Kell Brook in 2017, then unified it with the WBC belt with a thrilling victory over Sean Porter in 2019. At his peak, Spence built a perfect 26-0 record against a strong lineup of welterweights, methodically breaking down his opponents and living up to his man-down motto. His long-awaited rivalry with Terrence Crawford finally culminated in 2023, a fight fans had debated for years, and while that outcome didn't go Spence's way, his welterweight run still secures him a spot on this list. At number 8, Oscar the Golden Boy De La Hoya. He wasn't just breaking hearts with his Hollywood looks, he was breaking noses with a vicious left hook. In a brief but electric welterweight run, in about 4 years in the late 90s, Oscar racked up huge wins over big names like Pernell Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez, and won memorable showdowns like with Ike Quarry and Arturo Gatti. His blazing hand speed and star power made him the era's biggest attraction at 147. Even his losses were iconic. His 1999 unification bout with Felix Trinidad ended in a razor-thin, controversial decision that fans still debate. Love him or not, De La Hoya's welterweight chapter was short but packed with blockbuster fights and high drama. At number 7, Terrence "Bud" Crawford. He might be a quiet personality outside the ring, but inside it, he's a calculated destroyer. A switch-hitting tactical genius, Crawford methodically cleaned out the welterweight division by 2023, capping it off with a masterful beatdown of Errol Spence Jr. to become undisputed welterweight champion, making him the first male boxer to unify all 4 major belts in 2 different weight classes. That dominant win had experts immediately mentioning Bud alongside the all-time greats of 147 pounds. His signature move, download an opponent's strategy in the early rounds, then suddenly flip to southpaw and unleash a vicious second-half assault. With his blend of brains and brute force, Crawford proved that today's welterweight elites can hold their own in the company of legends. At number 6, Felix Tito Trinidad carried Puerto Rico's pride into the ring and wielded a left hook that could level buildings. He captured the IBF welterweight title in 1993 at just 20 years old, and went on to defend that title 15 times in an unbeaten welterweight run. Along the way, Trinidad defeated fellow legends like Hector Camacho and Pernell Whitaker, often overcoming early knockdowns to roar back with explosive knockout power. Talk about drama. His 1999 showdown with Oscar De La Hoya was a mega fight that ended in a hotly debated decision, but it cemented Trinidad's status as one of the most feared 147-pounders of his era. In short, Tito was a slow starter and a grand finisher, always ready to turn the tide with one thunderous punch. At number 5, we have Tommy the Hitman Hearns. He was a freak of nature at 147, 6'1", and a 78-inch reach. He looked like he accidentally wandered into the wrong weight class, but Hearns put that lanky frame to lethal use, scoring 8 straight knockouts at welterweight, including a destruction of Pepino Cuevas to claim the WBA title. With blinding speed and a murderous right hand, Hearns was an offensive machine who gave us one of the greatest fights in welterweight history, his 1981 war with Sugar Ray Leonard. He was leading on the scorecards before Leonard rallied late to hand Hearns his first loss in an epic finish. The Hitman soon moved up and conquered 4 more divisions, but his welterweight reign of terror, brief as it was, left an unforgettable mark and quite a few broken jaws in boxing lore. At number 4, we have Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. He was the defensive wizard of this weight class, the guy who could make you miss in a phone booth, widely considered one of the best defensive fighters in boxing history. Whitaker brought his slick southpaw style up to welterweight and immediately made his mark. He captured the WBC and lineal welterweight titles by outclassing James Buddy McGirt in 1993 and practically put the division on lockdown for the next 4 years. Sweet Pea's reign lasted until 1997 when a young Oscar De La Hoya edged him out in a close decision. Even in his mid-30s, Whitaker's head movement and counterpunching were the stuff of legend. Trainers still study his tapes to see how boxing's slickest southpaw made world-class opponents look outright silly. At number 3, we have Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, who brought a whirlwind of punches and an infectious smile. From the Philippines all the way up to the welterweight division, critics wondered if the smaller Pacquiao's power would carry to 147, and he answered by demolishing Oscar De La Hoya in 2008, then battering Miguel Cotto in 2009. 2 back-to-back clinics that showed he could overwhelm bigger guys with speed and volume. Amazingly, a full decade later at age 40, Pac-Man was still at it. He dropped and outpointed Keith Thurman in 2019 to grab yet another welterweight title. Apparently, those Pac-Man power pellets have a very long shelf life. Over his welterweight run, Pacquiao also notched wins over Shane Mosley, Juan Manuel Marquez, and Timothy Bradley twice, among others. An 8-division champion in total, Pacquiao cemented his legacy by proving that even as a welterweight, he was one of the best in the world, all while becoming a global ambassador for the sport. At number 2, we have Floyd Money Mayweather Jr. Often reminds us that 50 have tried and 50 have failed. A huge chunk of that undefeated legacy was built at welterweight, where Mayweather's defensive genius and ring IQ were on full display. Armed with his trademark shoulder roll and laser-like counterpunches, Floyd racked up wins against a who's who of the era, including fellow greats like Shane Mosley and finally Manny Pacquiao in 2015. He wasn't a knockout artist at 147, but he barely got hit clean, making elite opponents look average as he picked them apart. Money became the sport's biggest pay-per-view star while collecting WBC, WBA, and IBF welterweight titles along the way. Love him or hate him, an undefeated record of 50-0 and the manner in which he dominated his welterweight competition secure Mayweather's place near the very top of this list. And at number 1, Sugar Ray Leonard, the original welterweight superstar of the modern era. Leonard had it all. Blazing hand speed, knockout power, charisma, and the uncanny ability to rise to the occasion in the biggest moments. After winning an Olympic gold medal in 1976, he turned pro and quickly took over the welterweight division, capturing his first world title by stopping the great Wilfred Benitez in 1979. He engaged in a legendary rivalry with Roberto Duran, bouncing back from a loss to make Duran quit, no mas, in their 1980 rematch. And he dueled Thomas Hearns in 1981's epic unification fight, where Sugar Ray, trailing on the scorecards, dug deep to score a dramatic late TKO win. In just a few golden years, Leonard beat Hall of Famers at welterweight like Benitez, Duran, and Hearns in what may have been the division's deepest era. He was the perfect combination of skill, showmanship, and his run at 147 pounds earned him recognition as the welterweight GOAT. And that's our list. Did we leave out your favorite, or would you rank something differently? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this lighthearted journey going through boxing history, smash that like button and subscribe for more knockout content. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your guard up and stay legendary.